record this because there are a number of people who couldn't make it here today.
But Rachel, if I can add one more thing.
Wait, Wendy, wait.
Okay.
Okay, because I want to start off with a bracha, a shechianu, and send bracha for the information for Croatia, Bosnia, whether any of you or all of you go. I want to introduce who is now my friend, Joseph Benatov, who has given me a crash course in Bosnia and Croatia. He's a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. And he and I have prepped this meeting a little bit to answer a lot of different questions. So just hold your questions or put them in the chat. Um, uh, and then we can handle them as we go. Sue, I just want to say, which Sue is this? Do you mind unmuting and saying hello?
Oh, Sue Wallach Smith.
Okay,
Yeah.
welcome.
Hello.
Hello, hello. And Marilyn, what's your last name?
Michon.
Michon. Okay, welcome here. All right, Joseph, I'm actually going to turn this over to you. And like I said, put all your questions. If he doesn't answer your questions, put all your questions in the chat and we'll get to them. Joseph, take it away.
Thank you, Rabbi Razel. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Happy to meet you from a distance, hopefully at some point in person as well. If you don't know, I'm based in Philadelphia, in West Philadelphia, but I'm originally from Bulgaria, so from the general region where you'll be visiting, and this is really what sparked my interest in showing both my home country and the neighboring countries of the Balkans to travelers, and also sharing some of my research, family history, focusing on the different Jewish communities, and also on quite a bit more that people can see and we can highlight in that region. Um, I'm happy to answer questions. Feel free to stop me if you want at any point. We can address questions as we go along, including Wendy's question just before we started recording about group meals versus individual meals on your own, and anything else that comes up and that you can think of.
You know, we're Jewish. We start right off with the food.
I hadn't thought about that, Wendy, but you're right on.
It's important.
We
It's an
didn't
important
think
question. Maybe let me address it while it's sort of on people's mind, and just to remind maybe those of you who joined late, or possibly people who are viewing the recording subsequently. Wendy was asking about the balance between organized group meals with preset menus versus meals that you'll have on your own. And Rabbi Razel and I decided to strike sort of a fair balance between the two, depending on the towns where you're visiting, depending on the day's itinerary. You will have I forget actually the exact number, but you will have um, several very memorable and very delicious group meals, highlighting, as Wendy was asking, some of the most unique specialties and regional local dishes in each country. And we will make those selections for you, knowing that you may not be familiar with the cuisine in each country. And on a particular day when it really makes more sense to have the evening free, for example, we will always have a list of recommended restaurants, including also um, dishes that you can order, and your tour guide slash tour leader will also be available even for those meals on your own to join you, to interpret, to help you order. If a small group of people decide to go out together to one of the recommended restaurants, again, your tour leader can come along to make sure that you're seated properly to help you order, and then you can spend the rest of that meal on your own. He or she may stay with you if That's your preference. So we will make sure that you're never left on your own, not knowing where to go or what to order, even for meals that uh, that you're free to pick a restaurant and go to one on your own. Does that make sense? Yes, Wendy.
We would never let you alone to go wander off by yourself.
No, absolutely not.
We just wouldn't. We wouldn't. That would not happen.
Mhm.
Yes.
You should just unmute, Wendy. Wendy, make sure to unmute, please.
Sorry, thank you. Are you going on the trip?
I will not be joining you, unfortunately. But you will have a dedicated tour director, one of our best experts, both on the Jewish history of the region and on the general history of the former Yugoslavia. He's a fantastic tour leader. He will be with you throughout. And in addition, in different towns, you will have local guides who are really the local experts of their hometown, giving you um, the respective tour of, let's say, of Dubrovnik, of Split. Once you get to the island once you are in Zagreb, in the capital, you will also have a guide. So one tour leader with you throughout, in addition to local guides as well. What we will most likely do before departure, we will probably have another similar Zoom session closer to your trip where I would be happy to present kind of a historical overview of what you're about to see, contextualize maybe the history specifically of the Jewish communities that you'll be learning about and members of those communities that you'll be meeting, some general sort of cultural context so that you have a little bit of background before you arrive, and we will of course have a list of recommended readings as well.
Just by the way, Joseph teaches during the semester in the winter, and that's like when I like to get out of Philly in the winter and
That's
travel
right.
when it's off season and not too cold and not too hot in other places. And so that's why he's not coming, but we will have a meeting with the other guide. This is just the intro meeting so you can meet Joseph, who sets everything up, and get a sense of his company and who he works with. So it won't be sight unseen in terms of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Sharon?
Sharon, don't be shy, girls.
Yeah, is there a awareness of accessibility needs? I have a scooter, and other people, may have difficulty walking distances, things like that.
Mhm. So we can discuss individual cases separately. Depending on the terrain, in some places, it's really the uh, layout of the old town, the type of pavement that determines the accessibility and whether, for example, a scooter can easily travel to such an area. But I'm happy to discuss this with you separately and give you sort of a day by day run through. But we will do our best. We will do our very best to accommodate. In some places, there may be an optional site that somebody with walking difficulties may view from a distance. You may not come all the way to the top, let's say, of a castle. One example is the castle in Slovenia on Lake Bled, where really reaching the very top and the best panoramic viewpoint from high up, you would need to walk up there, but it's not a great loss if you don't come all the way up. So as long as people are flexible on their end and willing to or understanding that there may be such accommodations, we can make it work out. Yeah, we can make it work.
I just want to say that Sharon has been with me in Morocco, and she's been with me in Greece, and Spain too, right? And that's the scooter goes pretty 95% of the places, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, why
Excellent.
don't we let you give an answer, Joseph, to give an overview here?
Yeah, maybe just I can give you a short overview with somebody's actually asking in the chat if I'll show a map. So let's maybe start with that, with a map that I can show and a few images, and then we can see if people have follow-up questions based on these images. 1 second. Um, can everyone see my initial slide?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Okay, wonderful. So these are two images from the really gorgeous synagogue in Sarajevo. It is known as the Ashkenazi synagogue in Bosnia's capital, Sarajevo. As you remember, probably from the tour description, the main tour starts in Croatia, in Dubrovnik, and ends in Slovenia. However, there is both a pre-tour option and a post-tour extension, and the pre-tour option begins indeed in Sarajevo, in Bosnia's capital, which is why I thought we could open with this image. And what's important to note and to remember about the Jewish community of Bosnia, that on the Balkan Peninsula, it is one of the almost exclusively Sephardic communities, at least well into the late 19th century, because after around 1878, Ashkenazi Jews joined the community in Sarajevo, and then an Ashkenazi community started living in the city. This is why this Ashkenazi synagogue was built at the beginning of the 20th century. Here is a map of the general area through which you'll be traveling. The Balkans and former Yugoslavia, which you'll be visiting, parts of former Yugoslavia, is part of what is known as the Western Balkans. So if you do join the tour, and I encourage you to do so, because you will also be spending Purim with the lovely and very vibrant community in Sarajevo. Start in Bosnia, in Sarajevo, and days there tour. Here is another image of the Balkans.
We were in the we were in Greece, you see, and in Ionia, actually, you see it right there. We weren't that far away from where we were just recently, for those of you.
Yeah. So geographically, of course.
Could you point out on the map where we're going? Because it's a very big map that you showed us.
We're going to start where it's the pre-tour is in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
It didn't say that on the map. I don't see those names on the map.
You don't see Bosnia?
Well, there I do. There I do. Now I do, because it's very close up. Yes, now I do.
Joseph, you there? I think he's frozen.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
It will.
Oh, Joseph, we're losing you here for a second. Did we lose him? We lost him.
Yeah, it's going in and out, his audio.
I'm going to show you, just give me a second. I'll show you the map and what we have decided to do while he's coming back in here. Okay, we want a map of Croatia. I've been maps. Okay, let me share this with you. Hold on.
Okay, yes, I'm back.
Let me just share this with them, because I think this is what they're asking.
Yes, exactly.
You see Sarajevo sort of in the bottom right of this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where do we fly into, Joseph?
If you come on the pre-tour, you would fly into Sarajevo.
Okay.
If you come for the main tour starts in Dubrovnik on the Croatian coast. But Rabbi Razel, I do have a follow-up slide with a better
Okay.
map if you want me.
Go ahead.
I think with a map that traces the itinerary exactly
Good.
what Marilyn and
That would be
others
good.
wanted to know.
Okay.
So, and I apologize for the technical issue at my end. I hope it does not happen again. Is my PowerPoint back on?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So we saw this slide and this map, and here is another map. Before we get to the map of the route, just very briefly, historically, it's important to know that the lands through which you will be traveling were part of different empires that affected Jewish life and the makeup of Jewish communities. And most specifically, I want to highlight the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And it was indeed in the lands ruled by the Austro-Hungarians where majority Ashkenazi communities settled. However, whereas in lands that were former holdings of the Ottoman Empire, this is where majority Sephardic communities were established. This is the reason why Sarajevo historically has been primarily home to Sephardic Jews, because up until the late 19th century, it was part of the Ottoman Empire. And this is a map showing the arrival of Sephardic Jews to the region, and specifically to parts of the Ottoman Empire that included good portions of the coastal area on the Adriatic through which you'll be traveling, but most importantly, Bosnia and Sarajevo. And here is the map. Here is another image of the Sarajevo synagogue, where if you come on the pre-tour, I think you'll be fascinated to see. You know what? I may not have the map with the itinerary here, which surprises me, but I will share it separately if it doesn't come up. This is one of the most beautiful buildings in Croatia's capital, Zagreb, where you'll be visiting. And the old town of Zagreb is located in what is known as the upper town. Okay, here it is. It was just out of order. My apologies. Now, to get you oriented, if you come on the pre-tour, you would fly into Sarajevo. You would spend 3 to 5 days in Sarajevo, depending on what you choose, including Purim with the Jewish community. Then, once you depart from Sarajevo, you will travel through the southern parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, through the Herzegovina area, where the big highlight is the town of Mostar. Some of you may be familiar with Mostar. It is best known internationally for a very beautiful Ottoman bridge, which sort of connects the two parts of the old town. You will visit and explore Mostar. Not far from Mostar, lies also a very well-known grave in Jewish Bosnian history, the grave of Rabbi Moshe Danon, which has a fascinating history and a very important moment in the life of the Jews of Bosnia and Herzegovina, centered around Rabbi Moshe Danon. If we have a second meeting closer to the trip, we can discuss that history in greater detail. So after this pre-tour and traveling through Bosnia, the countryside, and of course visiting the capital, you will arrive in Dubrovnik, known as the Pearl of the Adriatic, arguably one of the most spectacular towns on the Croatian coast. And those of you who are not coming on the pre-tour, you would fly in directly into Dubrovnik. You'll spend 2 nights in Dubrovnik, and After that, you travel along the gorgeous Adriatic coast on the Adriatic Highway, as it is known, in Croatia, making some stops along the way, ultimately arriving in your second hub, which is the coastal town of Split. Split is the second largest city in Croatia, a very important seaport, and that seaport has interesting Jewish history as well. It was actually established as a port by a Sephardic Jew in the 16th century. Um, Both Split and Dubrovnik have active synagogues dating back to the 1500s. The one in Dubrovnik is actually the second oldest active synagogue in Europe as a whole after the one in Prague, and both of them are quite spectacular. You would spend 2 nights in Split, after which you continue through inland Croatia, visiting probably the most beautiful natural site in the country, the Plitvice Lakes, listed on UNESCO's World Heritage list, and arriving in Croatia's capital, Zagreb, of which I showed you an image earlier. You'll spend 2 nights in Zagreb, and after that, you will cross the border, even though you will not feel it because that border no longer exists, but you will cross the border into Slovenia, the third and last country that you're visiting, other than a quick trip to Italy. In Slovenia, before you reach the capital, you will visit Lake Bled, one of the biggest highlights in Slovenia, both because of the gorgeous lake and because of its very beautiful castle perched on top of a hill overlooking the lake. So you will visit Lake Bled, then you will arrive in the capital, Ljubljana, where you will be spending 3 nights. You will explore Ljubljana. I think it is one of the really most charming cities in the whole of Europe. It reminds quite a few people, and I think rightly so, of Prague, especially of the old part of Prague, but has somewhat different and very unique charm to it. While you're in Ljubljana, in addition to touring the capital, on one of your days, you will take a day trip to Trieste on the coast, which is part of Italy, but really has a sort of a Central European architectural feel to it. A very, very beautiful city with a stunning and enormous synagogue, which, of course, you will be visiting, the port town of Trieste. And along the way, en route to Trieste, you will also visit a spectacular cave known as the Postojna cave, one of the main highlights in Slovenia, together with Lake Bled. So that is where the main trip ends. Starts in Dubrovnik, ends in Ljubljana. And those of you who would also like to join the post-tour extension, that post-tour extension will take you to the peninsula of Istria on the map here, just to the south of Trieste. And Istria is arguably one of the prettiest and best preserved regions in Croatia, with some very distinct and unique rural life, and the countryside is quite spectacular. So you would spend 3 days on the peninsula of Istria if you decide to go on the post-trip extension as well.
Is this entire thing by bus?
Yes, once you land either in Sarajevo or in Dubrovnik, it's done by bus. The distances are not too long at all. We've sort of calculated the days carefully so that even on a longer day, let's say the day from Split to the capital, Zagreb, the travel time and the distance is quite manageable. really quite manageable. And some of the distances are, of course, much shorter.
Yeah, because we'll be stopping at different things on the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is an image of the 16th century synagogue in Sarajevo. If you come on the pre-tour, a functioning synagogue and a museum and a Jewish museum combined in one. Some images from the Ottoman part of Sarajevo. It has a true sort of Oriental feel to it. One of the cities, I think, in Europe that really preserves that Oriental spirit from the Ottoman period. More images from Sarajevo, just to give you a visual sense of what you can expect. This is the grave of Rabbi Moshe Danon, whom I mentioned at the end of the pre-trip. As you're traveling towards Dubrovnik in Croatia, you will visit the tomb of Rabbi Moshe Danon. Here is the bridge of Mostar, which I mentioned in southern Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the town of Mostar itself is quite charming and very, very beautiful. And of course, one of the greatest items of which the Jews of Bosnia are rightly proud is, of course, the Sarajevo Haggadah. And we will make sure that we have a private visit to the room at the National Museum where the Sarajevo Haggadah is kept, and you will be hosted by one of the curators who is a specialist on the Sarajevo Haggadah. Here is an image of Dubrovnik, where the official trip really starts. Those of you who fly into Dubrovnik, this is what you can expect to see. This is the port in Dubrovnik. As you can see, it has kind of a very Venetian-looking feel to it in some senses. The synagogue in Dubrovnik, that is the second oldest synagogue that I mentioned earlier. It's located at the top floor of a sort of a narrow building in one of the side streets. And in the same building, there is also a fascinating Jewish museum. Another image from the Dubrovnik synagogue. Dubrovnik from far away, from one of the vista points.
Wow.
Where your tour will take you. This is one of the best photographic spots to take pictures of the whole old town. More images from Dubrovnik. And then your second stop along the Adriatic is the town of Split, which I mentioned. This image is actually taken from the hill where the Jewish cemetery is located. It's a historic Jewish cemetery owned by the community, even though it's not a functioning cemetery today. The modern Jewish cemetery is at a different location. And down here in the far distance, this is one of the walls of Diocletian's palace. One of the highlights of any tour of Split is learning about the Roman Emperor Diocletian, who retired in Split and established a retirement palace for himself, which is really the whole old town of Split. Even the synagogue is within the premises of Diocletian's palace. Here you can see it from closer up. This is Diocletian's palace. An image of the synagogue in Split, which you'll be visiting, just a couple of decades younger, we may say, than the one in Dubrovnik, but also second half of the 16th century. Here are some images of the unique tombstones at the Jewish cemetery in Split. And as you can see, this is the distinct shape that you can only see in Split within Croatia. The port by night. And once you leave Split, that natural site that I mentioned, the Plitvice Lakes, I think will be one of your highlights, especially if you are into natural beauty. The capital, Zagreb. This is a street that takes you gradually up to the old town. Zagreb, unlike the coastal towns, has a much more Central European feel to it, both architecturally, and I think you'll sense it in the way that people behave, in the way that, or the types of menus that you see in restaurants. There is a very distinct cultural difference between coastal Croatia and especially the Dalmatian region of Croatia, which is where Dubrovnik and Split are, versus central or inland Croatia, with Zagreb as its central hub, as the capital. Some traditional dresses from the capital, from Zagreb. Another image, this is a well-known former artisan street where some of the best cafes and restaurants are located in the capital. The streetcars, a view from the upper part of the city towards the lower part. More images from the old town, or from the upper town, we may say. Lake Bled in Slovenia. Once you leave Zagreb, that will be your next stop. Very, what is it, Rabbi Reisel?
Beautiful.
Isn't it? It's very, very beautiful, with this little island in the middle of the lake, and a sort of a tiny church in the middle of the lake. But at the top of the hill from which this picture is taken, this is where the Bled Castle is located, overlooking the lake. And then once you visit Lake Bled, you will arrive in Ljubljana. This is an image of the central part of Slovenia's capital, Ljubljana. And actually your hotel is very, very centrally located, essentially right behind this pink building in the very heart of the pedestrian area. You will be close to all restaurants, museums, everything will be within easy walking distance. And as we mentioned, you'll take a day trip to Trieste, stopping at the Postojna Cave. This is kind of an image of the main square of Trieste, with one of our groups visiting last summer. And on your left, an inside view of that spectacular temple, the Trieste synagogue, dating back to the very early 20th century. Lastly, and I'll stop very soon, if you decide to go on the post-tour extension to Istria, this will be your base. You will spend 2 nights in one of the most beautiful towns in Istria, and arguably in the whole of Croatia. It's formerly a fisherman's village known as Rovin, or Rovigno in Italian, because it changed hands quite a few times. And Istria is the part of Croatia with the strongest Italian cultural influence to this day. And most of the people living there are essentially bilingual. So this is Rovin, one of the hilltop fortified towns in Istria that you will be visiting. It's called Motovun, one of the highlights of any tour of Istria. Istria, that same region, is also famous for its truffles and its truffle tradition. You will participate in actual truffle hunting if you're interested, and then you will sample some delicious local delicacies and dishes that include, of course, truffles as the main component.
I love truffles.
Istria is equally famous for its local wine industry. There are 3 grape varieties that only grow in Istria, and some of the best wineries in the country are located in what looks in many ways like the Istrian version of Tuscany of sorts.
Yeah.
And thirdly, in addition to truffles and the wine industry, the olive oils of Istria are famous across Croatia and beyond. And here too, there are several varieties of olives that only grow on the peninsula. And I think you will be able to taste the difference and the unique sort of aroma of these olive oils. And of course, you will have explanation at these, both the wine tastings and the olive oil tastings. Yep, that was my last slide. I will stop the slide share, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions? First of all, thank you, Joseph. Some of it looked familiar for those of us who just got off the Greece trip, but I'm sure it'll be different. And now we'll be connoisseurs of the difference between the olive oils in Greece and the olive oils in Croatia. But I'm looking at this, and I have three strong motivations for going. One is that I know I've only heard about this region, because there was a war there in the 90s. And part of me is curiosity. I want to see what it's all about. I don't know much. It feels like I'm making up for the high school world history class that I skipped out of, that I want to learn and be educated about all these different countries and how they coalesced and how the regions formed, and is it the Slavs or the Serbs and the Croatians and the Slovenians and the Bosnians, and how it all got put together in such a puzzle and a mishmash, right? I'm eager to learn that. And then the other thing that I felt very strongly from the Greece trip and all the other trips is that it has been important to travel in a group and to meet and bless the locals who are holding the places together, that part of Judaism that is about the peoplehood, and that we are, a big tribal family. We may not look, observe, eat, talk, speak the same language, but there is a connection there. So those are my two real strong motivations for wanting to do this trip. And when I found Joseph and he could sort of explain it fairly easily, I knew that was I was headed in the right direction. So, any questions, anxieties? I wanted to put this book into the chat. Like if you're sitting on the fence, read this book. This is called The People of the Book. It's a novel. And it goes, well, Joseph, maybe you want to say something about this book. It goes through the different pieces of history of that Sarajevo Haggadah, right?
Yes, absolutely. And once we do share a recommended reading list, that title will certainly be on it, but you already have it as a recommendation. You can get started. But it's a fascinating novel that kind of gives you a mix of the fictionalized history of that unique manuscript, the Sarajevo Haggadah, with a very interesting personal story to it as well. But what is also fascinating is that the same author, Geraldine Brooks, before she wrote that novel, she wrote a very beautiful piece in the New Yorker, a New Yorker article, which is obviously a non-fictional, well-researched essay about the real history of the Sarajevo Haggadah, including some of the brave local Bosnian Muslims who risked their life, and especially one curator at the National Museum during World War II who risked his life and smuggled the Sarajevo Haggadah out of the museum so that the Nazis could not put their hands on it, hid it in a mountain village not far away from the capital at a mosque, and then at the end of the war safely returned the Sarajevo Haggadah back to the National Museum. There was a similar story in the early 90s during the siege of Sarajevo, when the city was besieged, when the director of the National Museum, another Muslim, once again took the Sarajevo Haggadah to safety and hid it in the vaults of the National Bank so that it wouldn't be looted or bombed or stolen by during during the wars of the 1990s. But the novel itself is a beautiful book, well written, and I would recommend both. The New Yorker article for kind of a non-fictional telling of the story of the Haggadah, and then the novel itself.
What about the weather in that area? I mean, it's coastal, so that'll be temperate, which is great
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, on the
on the coast.
all along the coast, you should have moderate sort of early spring type weather. You will be there well before the heat of the summer, and also well before the onslaught of the crowds really that visit Croatia in July and August and June. So in terms of a time period, March is a very good time to visit Croatia during the low season when you won't need to compete for seats at restaurants, with other visitors. When you go to museums, there will be far fewer visitors as well. Again, it will certainly not be crowded. It should be mild and moderate along the coast. If you come on the pre-tour in Bosnia and Sarajevo, it really depends. This will be very late February, beginning of March. It sometimes during that week, last week of February, early March, the weather can be on the milder side. Other times it can feel like winter.
Bring a
So,
jacket.
Yeah.
sorry.
Bring a jacket.
Absolutely. Bring a jacket, but I think Sarajevo is absolutely fascinating. And if you're going on the trip, I would highly recommend including the pre-tour, not only so that you can see the Sarajevo Haggadah, but also so that you can meet members of the community in Sarajevo, celebrate Purim with them. It's a fascinating and very welcoming community, I should say, and you'll see that for yourselves if you make it to Sarajevo.
So
So where's the tour guide from? From Croatia or
So your
Bosnia?
your tour director,
Tour
your
director.
tour director, or tour leader, is based in Sarajevo, and again but he's a citizen of ex-Yugoslavia, and in former Yugoslavia, in some ways it doesn't really matter if you are from Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, or Montenegro. This is kind of a shared history and a shared culture that everybody knows. But your tour leader is from Sarajevo, equally knowledgeable and an expert on the whole region where you'll be traveling. And then, as I mentioned earlier, in addition to him, you will have local guides, a local guide in Dubrovnik, somebody from Dubrovnik, a local guide in Split who also happens to be a member of the Jewish community in Split. So you'll get an insider's view of the daily life of the Jewish community of Split. In Zagreb, you will have a local guide from Zagreb. Same will be true in Ljubljana, where you'll have a local Slovenian guide. In Trieste, you'll have a local guide, and so forth. So in each of the locations, you will be joined by somebody from the town, from the community, who will give the official guided tour. And then your tour leader will present kind of the broader historical information as you travel by bus, as you travel between destinations, and then on the pre-tour in Sarajevo, he will be your day-to-day guide as well.
Did you see, there's a question in the chat. Will a tour of the Jewish Community Museum in Trieste be included, Linda?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Both the museum and the synagogue. They're in two different parts of the city, but not far from each other. And that museum is very beautiful. Yeah, and I see that Linda has already been there. So
Yeah.
hopefully you'll enjoy the second time.
Other questions? Wendy?
And I didn't go through everything super carefully, but it looks like you have Shabbat travel dates again.
I think we're going to be in, I don't think so.
Okay,
We're going to be in Split. We're going to do Shabbat. Like Joseph said, they would welcome us to be.
Yeah, absolutely. They
Joseph,
will wake up. I need to double check that myself, whether there is actual travel by bus on
but I
Saturday.
was talking about the international travel, getting there and
Oh,
leaving.
I see what you're saying. So the trip, first of all, it depends whether you're coming for the pre-tour or not. But the pre-tour, let's say those of you who want to come on the pre-tour, the pre-tour extension in Sarajevo starts on a Friday. You will not be traveling on Shabbat.
Okay, so we would get there by Friday.
The trip, yeah, you would get
And
there
then-
Friday morning, you would leave on Thursday evening.
And then what about the end of it?
The
And
end
back
of it, again, it's a question of whether you're going on the post-trip extension or not. If you're not going, the trip ends on a Thursday evening with a farewell dinner, which means that the departure back home from Ljubljana is on Friday morning, and you can be back home before Shabbat. We have a ticketing agent based in the US, and we will put you in touch with her, or we can put in your request for you, specifying that you want to be back home on an early afternoon flight, arriving early afternoon, so that you're home in time for Shabbat.
And the
we're
and
still, wait, Wendy, we're still early enough in this. If we need to move the closing dinner a night before and just have, we'll take a look at. We'll take
It's
it.
possible,
Okay.
yeah.
But I for some reason when I looked at it, I didn't see an after tour. So I must have missed that.
It's not listed yet on the PDF that
Then I
you-
didn't miss it.
No,
Okay.
no, you did not miss it. You
Okay,
did not
good.
miss it.
Because I was looking for one
Right.
and I didn't see it.
Yeah,
So
that
okay.
information is coming soon. But if you do go on the post tour, that would start on Friday morning, traveling to Istria, to that peninsula. You would spend 2 nights in Istria and then return back to Ljubljana and fly back home from Ljubljana. You will not be flying on Shabbat
Right.
either.
But
There
I
may
didn't
be
see a
there may be
post
some
tour.
travel by
Okay.
there may be some travel by bus on Shabbat. Hopefully that's not an issue for you.
Well, that to me is a little different
Yeah.
than
No, I agree.
but
I agree.
I didn't see a post, so I'm glad it wasn't that I missed it.
Yeah.
We didn't miss it. We didn't have it all.
Okay, no worries. Just was
Okay.
asking.
But Joseph, you and I will take a look at it and make sure we're not doing too much traveling on Shabbat. That's okay. We'll take a deeper dive.
But that actually sounds better because from the way it was looking for the end, it seemed like it was ending to come home on Friday. But if you have a post trip, then that's
We added the weekend. We added the weekend.
okay. All right.
Fran
Yeah,
asked-
the weekend is the post trip, but if you're not going on a post trip, again, if you depart Friday morning, you should be able to be back home for Shabbat.
Well, I probably would want to do the post. So
Okay.
cool.
Even better. Then on the post tour, once you arrive on Friday afternoon to that town of Rovin, you would have a Kabbalat Shabbat as a group. I understand you'll have a professional rabbi on the tour, so that should be easy.
Oh, who's coming, Razel?
Rabbi Razel herself.
You,
I'm teasing. I was teasing.
Fran asked how many synagogues we will go to.
Well, how many would you like to go to?
Well, give us a minimum and a maximum.
Yeah.
The main ones, if you come on the pre-tour, the Sarajevo Synagogue, then the one in Dubrovnik, the one in Split. In Zagreb, there is a small new synagogue at the Jewish Community Center. So you'll visit the Jewish Community Center. If you want to see their synagogue on the top floor, you can. The historic one was destroyed, sadly, during World War II, so it does not exist. But yeah, you can see the one in Zagreb that the community uses. And then lastly, the one in Trieste.
Great.
So that would be 5.
So hold on, Marilyn has got her hand up. What a novel idea. Marilyn, how'd you find, Marilyn, just tell me how you found out about this tour.
So Judith Hollander.
Judith Hollander. Okay, take it away.
So my question, I mean, I guess it's a preference. I mean, it's fine to look at synagogues like they're museums, but I prefer to actually attend a service in a synagogue. I mean, that's my interest.
So this means you have to come on the pre-tour extension and join the community for Purim services.
Of course.
That's the place to do it.
And in Split, we'll be joining them in Split for the second Shabbat too. So everywhere where there's a synagogue and we're there for Shabbat, we will join.
Good.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, Wendy.
It sounds like from what you're saying that most of the synagogues that we're going to go to are actually active synagogues. Is that true? Not like that they're museums of a dead people?
The synagogue in Sarajevo is an active synagogue, and essentially over 90% of the Jews of Bosnia live in the capital in Sarajevo, about 500 to 600 members. It's a very active synagogue. The synagogue in Dubrovnik is an active one, but the community is tiny. The community in Dubrovnik numbers about 40 members, let's say.
That's okay.
That's
You
fine.
can call it an active synagogue. It's an active synagogue for a tiny community.
As long as there's live people there, like I know when we went to Spain, it was mostly this is where, and this is where, and even in Amsterdam, it made me cry going to the synagogue because it was basically a museum.
No. The museum again. The official Jewish museum is in the same building but on a separate floor. And then the synagogue itself is, of course, visited by many foreigners, both Jewish and non-Jewish. So they receive a lot of visitors. This is Dubrovnik. There are cruise ships that dock, during the summer, and thousands of visitors come. Many of them go to the synagogue. But it is also an active one for a small community. The one in Split, it's a similar story. A lot of visitors, a lot of foreigners, and then the local community numbers about 150 members or so, and this is their synagogue. So it's both. It's both an active synagogue.
And remember, we're one of the motivations for going is to increase the numbers and be there and be present and be part of the community. Remember that. It's not always just what you're expecting from them, but it's what we're bringing and giving to them too. Fran,
and if you have grandkids, or if you have somebody who's looking to get married, you can bring them along and we can try to introduce them to young members of the local communities. Yeah.
Okay. Fran asked a question. Any visit to farms or village collectives where they grow foods?
Well, hopefully not.
Are you asking for customs purposes?
No.
No.
Just because I enjoy seeing them.
Then yes. Then the answer is yes. But on the customs form, you should not say that you visited when you go back home. But otherwise, yes, absolutely. In Istria, this is one of the highlights of the post-tour extension, where you'll visit an olive farm, a winery, a farm-to-table little tavern that where they grow their own produce and really do everything in-house. So absolutely, and I think at least one other one along the way as well. Yeah.
Yeah, what kinds of foods did people eat in the Croatia, Bosnia? Because I'm not a meat eater. I'm just wondering if there's
You won't have any trouble. I'm not a
okay.
meat eater either, and this is one of my favorite tours when I'm going. I don't know if you eat fish. There are
I
a lot
do.
of fish
Yeah.
you do. You
Mm.
you will be in sort of in
Heaven.
heaven over there. But even people who do not
Okay.
eat fish either, there is a very rich vegetarian menu. So both for pescatarians and for strict vegetarians. Uh, the coastal cuisine is Mediterranean influenced. It's kind of the Croatian version of a Mediterranean cuisine with some Italian influences as well. In inland Croatia, they have a sort of a different Central European cuisine, but with both delicious meat dishes and also very delicious regional vegetarian dishes as well.
Mm.
Yeah, that you should not be concerned at all. I think
Joseph's a
you will
foodie.
love the food. Yeah.
Joseph's
Ah,
a foodie, so he's already crafted this so that we eat well.
oh, we have to find restaurants here before we go so I can check it out.
Uh-huh.
Good question. Any
Yeah.
other questions? I just want to see if there's anything else. Eileen, you have a question? Marilyn, you have any other questions? You're good? Wait, you're going to unmute, Eileen.
You don't have the costs yet for the rest of the trip.
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting
You
there.
mean for the post tour extension?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other costs, I think I think Rabbi Razel, you've already
Okay.
posted.
Yeah, it's
Have you
on
not?
it's on my website. I put the link in the chat. The
Mhm.
cost for the post trip is not up there yet, but
Yeah.
we'll get it to you.
That's the only missing part. Yeah, and the details of the post tour. Yeah.
Marilyn, since I don't
Yeah.
know you so well,
I have a question
Yeah.
about, will we be going to Montenegro?
Not on this tour, no. You will be close to Montenegro, but you will not be visiting Montenegro.
you have to save something
If
for the next one.
Maryland, yes. Montenegro combines very well with Albania. So for a possible future tour, if Rabbi Razel decides to return to the region, Montenegro and Albania work very well together. Also, with a possible inclusion of the island of Corfu in Greece. I think that's a beautiful future
Oh,
tour.
nice. Yeah.
Montenegro, Albania, and maybe a post-trip extension to Corfu. But you should do this one first, and then we can decide.
Yeah, Joseph has told me, because I looked at his menu of offerings, including Bulgaria and Romania, and he said, do Croatia first, because it is the most beautiful and spectacular. It's on the coast, the food is good, the weather will be the best, and then you can decide about where to branch out from there. So I went with his wisdom on this. So that's how we ended up there. And then I found out Purim we would be in Bosnia. And so that was a no-brainer given how much fun Purim was on our last trip. And I'm very curious to explore that region.
So have everybody but me been on your trips before?
Eileen has not. Wendy has been to Israel, Spain, and Greece. Sharon has been to Israel, Spain, Greece, and Morocco. Fran has been to Morocco. Eileen has not been. She's taking the plunge.
All right, so this is basically a travel group. People know each other.
Not really. On every group, I get new people. I would say about half come back, and then I always get new people, and then half of those come back. So it's a growing. It's a we're collecting people as we go, and if you don't like this itinerary, maybe you'll like the next one. I have
How long have you been doing this?
10, 12 years already.
Do you since I don't know, you don't know me,
Yes.
I don't know you. Do
Yes.
you, I mean, as a rabbi, do you do other things?
I do a million other things.
It's everything.
I'm in Philadelphia. I have a life cycle ritual based practice, weddings, bat mitzvahs, baby namings, things like that. That keeps me busy during the wedding season. I also do some consulting. I'm the director of spiritual arts for Aleph Jewish Renewal, so I do some virtual programs and all kind of things for them. And then I plan one of these trips a year. At least so far, it's one a year. And I have a lot of other. I'll put my website in the chat, and you can see the variety of different things that I try to keep up with. I'm busier than I can't keep up with myself in terms of what I'm creating in the world. And
So where were you trained as a rabbi?
Reconstructionist.
Oh, okay.
I like to say my head is Reconstructionist, my heart is renewal. So I sort of straddle the lines between those two.
Do you do funerals?
I do funerals, absolutely.
I might give those instructions, so I'll have a very creative, fun funeral.
Absolutely. Don't sign up for your funeral before the trip.
No. I'll wait. But no, I'm intrigued now. I took a year ago, March, I took my first Rhodes Scholar real trip. And we were in the hill towns of Tuscany and Umbria. And one of the things I gave feedback on is we were there during truffle season. Mm-hmm. They should, in the future, add a tour of a truffle area.
And then here you are. We're offering it to you.
All of a sudden, yeah.
You manifested your wish.
With a post tour, yeah.
There you
So
go.
what's the exchange rate like right now for the money?
For the euro? So
it's the euro.
It is the euro, yeah, other than Bosnia. Other than Bosnia, it's the euro. Bosnia has its own local currency, but Croatia, Slovenia, and Trieste in Italy, all three countries are on the euro. So right now, I think it's 91 euro cents to the dollar or something like that.
The dollar is falling a little bit.
Yes.
We have no
The
idea.
dollar is falling. Somebody mentioned that it's possibly because of our president, but I'm not sure.
Oh,
Your president.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
don't,
I
don't
have
know.
one more
Yes,
question.
Marilyn, we'll give you the floor.
One more question about where people are coming from in terms of location. One of the things that I haven't done very long trip in a long time, well, since COVID. I guess I did. I guess I went to Hawaii to visit my brother, but I'd like to know if there are any people coming from the New York, New Jersey area.
Wendy's, where are you?
Wendy is, yeah.
Connecticut. I usually go out of New York.
And is this a direct flight to Sarajevo?
It is not, but you said you're in the New York area, correct?
Right.
So there are very convenient connections with one stop in Europe. You can arrive very conveniently into Sarajevo. Oftentimes, you can connect in Frankfurt, so it would be a United Lufthansa combination. Another common route to get to Sarajevo is through Vienna with Austrian Air, again United/Austrian. Sometimes people come via Istanbul if they like flying Turkish Air. Sometimes Turkish Air has very good deals on business class tickets. So I've seen people fly business on Turkish Air via Istanbul and still arrive in Sarajevo with one stop. I would say these are the most common routes. Probably the Frankfurt connection is the leading one, followed by Vienna and Istanbul.
How far is it from Israel? If I wanted to add Israel as a
It's not far. I mean, if you're flying from Israel to Sarajevo, it's probably a 2.5-hour flight. And again, it may be.
There are flights?
Yeah, once again, it may not be a direct one. It may be via Vienna. Oftentimes, we have a tour coming up, which I'm leading, starting, very soon. And one couple is coming from Israel. They're connecting in Vienna. They're flying Tel Aviv, Vienna, Sarajevo, a
But
ticket
so there's no direct flights from Israel?
to Sarajevo, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, for next year, we would need to check.
Well, yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah, we need to check. But again, if it's not a direct flight, it would be with an easy connection with one stop in Europe. Occasionally, I mean, during the summer, there are direct flights to Dubrovnik from the States, from the US to Dubrovnik. If any of the people in the group are not doing the pre-tour extension, you may be able to fly into Dubrovnik on a direct flight, but again, the March schedule is different from the summer schedule.
Let me just say that I've looked at flights from Newark. First of all, because it's a multi-city, we start in one place and end in another. So you're already, so I've looked at the flights from Newark. I've looked at them from Philadelphia. They're about $1,000 now, just saying. And if you're interested, the Chase Sapphire Reserve card or preferred card, I'll put the link in here. They're having a special for if you sign up for that card, 100,000 points. You can get your whole flight paid for. So I'll put that in the chat. It's a very big.
I wish I didn't already have that card.
And I already have it. I already have it too, but you don't.
And
What was the question?
I said cancel the card and then
I think
reapply.
you have to wait. I think you have to wait. If
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to a year.
you have to wait a while to get
Okay.
another.
How many points?
It's 100,000. Like it's 100,000. It's the biggest one they've ever done.
You don't have to use it within.
You have
Which card is that?
here. I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I'll send it to you.
But we don't have to use
You don't have to do that at all.
airlines, right? You can use whatever you want to.
Absolutely.
We're not going to any boats, are we?
No, there will be an optional boat ride, but not a required one.
Okay.
You're afraid of boats?
I get seasick.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like boats.
There is an optional boat ride in Dubrovnik in the afternoon during your free time. There is a tiny island off the coast, just off the harbor, but you don't have to come. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? We're out of questions.
How long? You said manageable, and Rachel said there were stops from Split to Zagreb. Is that the long leg of the journey?
Yeah, so as an example, from Split to Zagreb, with a significant stop at the Plitvice Lakes, where you tour those lakes for about 2 hours.
And you're walking a lot.
Give or take, yeah, you would be walking there. That day, if you leave at around 9 o'clock in the morning, you should be in Zagreb by 5:30 or 6 p.m. And that includes, again,
The 2 hours.
2 hours plus another stop for lunch, plus another hour and a half for lunch.
Okay.
So the actual driving time is not significant at all. Yeah. Yeah, it's very manageable. I would say it's very manageable. Croatia is a relatively small country in terms of size, so that makes it easy to design an itinerary with very comfortable and manageable travel times.
Excuse me, if we do the post trip, where are we flying out of at the end of the trip?
You would still be flying out of Ljubljana. On the post trip, you would spend 2 nights on the Istria Peninsula, and at the end of those 2 nights, you will return to Ljubljana, stay one final night in Ljubljana, and then depart the next morning. That's
What country is that?
Ljubljana is Slovenia's capital.
Okay.
And but the post tour itself, that peninsula, is in Croatia. Or you will be on the Croatian part of the Istria Peninsula. And again,
Marilyn,
because
Marilyn, would you put your email in the chat so that I can follow up with you with further information? I don't have your contact information as it is revealed.
You already
Marilyn,
have,
is
you already have my
Judy,
email, but I'll send it again.
is Judy thinking of going, or you just got the information from her?
She's not think she's already been.
Oh, okay.
She said she might want to come to this introduction, but she's not here, so yes.
I've recorded it.
Okay.
So we've talked flights. So I just want to go over this. We have a deadline for the early bird registration for April 21st. If you register by that time, you get $100 off. If you've traveled with me before, you get another $50 off. If you haven't traveled with me before, but you bring another friend, you can get $25 off for each of you. So I'm just saying, and the deposit, the $1,000 is fully refundable. I think Joseph's crazy for offering that, but he did it anyway.
one important
Until
follow-up.
when? It's fully refundable until
April, fully refundable till when, Joseph?
May 1st.
Until 3 months before departure.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
And departure is for the pre-trip is February 27th or something?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Or the arrival, so you'll depart the day before, yeah. But one quick follow-up to this note, if you are planning to sign up early to make use of the early bird discount, you should also be in touch with me about travel insurance, because it's important to issue travel insurance policies within 2 weeks of your initial payment, so that you're covered for pre-existing medical conditions at no extra cost. So once you're ready to sign up, you can let Rabbi Razel know. She will connect you with me, and I'll send you the registration forms, the instructions for mailing the check. And at that point, we will also take care of your travel insurance policy if you plan to get travel insurance. We highly recommend it, but it's not a requirement.
No, it's a requirement.
Now, it is a requirement. There you go. Yes, Wendy.
We have had
No.
accidents on our trip. It happens. I want everybody to be insured.
There you go.
Now, when you said,
I'm putting in the chat the Chase card to be referred.
Okay.
Okay.
when you said that, the deposit was fully refundable up to 3 months prior, right? Which is somewhere toward the end of the year, right? What about, but you also said that if we put down a deposit, we have to get insurance within a couple weeks.
That's right.
How refundable is the insurance?
So that depends on the insurance company's policy. That's not governed by us. Normally, insurance companies, first of all, you have a window, but it's a short window of canceling the insurance policy and getting a full refund. But once you're past that window, and it's usually 2 or 3 weeks, if you have to cancel the tour within our free cancellation period and you get a full refund from us, then you can request a voucher for future use for the cost of the policy, so that you can apply that credit to another policy down the line in the future. And again, this is governed by the insurance company. It's not our decision, but normally you should be able to get a voucher with credit for future use.
Okay.
Also,
Thanks.
Wendy, on the last trip when there was the earthquake in Santorini, they had bought some insurance, but then I think Shoshi went out and bought some more insurance. So it's not like you have to buy it all at once if you don't want to.
Okay.
That's true. And that's especially true for the airline ticket. Once you're ready to sign up, we will insure the land cost of the tour. And down the line, once you buy your airfare, we can add it to the existing policy at a later point. If
So
you want
we
to- if
ended up
you-
getting extra insurance, and thank goodness we didn't need to use it, but
Good. That's
it
it.
was costly.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm really
Well,
aware. Any last
Thank you.
questions? I'm aware. Marilyn, what's your
What's,
name? You're muted though.
Marilyn Nishon. I emailed you once already. You should have it.
You emailed me your.
No, I emailed you. You haven't emailed for me.
I have.
We've emailed each other.
Okay, fine. Then I have it. You're right.
Marilyn
Okay.
Nishon.
Anything else that we need to go over here today? We've covered a lot of ground. Thank you all for being here.
You
Sheffield.
had lovely pictures, by the way, Joseph.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
in
you.
I'm in Dubrovnik behind me, if you can tell.
Yes, I can see that. Beautiful.
And I look forward to traveling with you. Bring some friends. You know, this is more fun if you have some friends. And, pay Chag Sameach. We should all get out of Egypt. The early bird special, you should definitely take advantage of it. Spread the word. I will follow this up with a recording of the chat, with a recording and a recording of the chat, so that you will have all of this and all the information that I put in the chat. Fran wants to know the name of your tour company, Joseph.
It's called Sephardic Balkans.
Okay, so
Sephardic Balkans LLC, or just Sephardic Balkans.
Great.
and April 15th is the
21st.
21st is the
Gave it till after Pesach was the number.
And Rabbi Razel, I think you're offering an early bird discount for the pre-tour and the main tour.
That
as
is
well,
correct.
if I
It
remember.
was another $50 off the pre-tour as
The
well.
pre-tour.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you sign up early and you know you're doing both, you should get a discount for both. Yeah.
Okay.
We will be ready with the information for the post-tour extension as well. So I'm assuming there will be an early bird discount for the post-tour too, if somebody wants to sign up for all three.
I just bless you guys for your adventurous spirits, and let's get out of Egypt, have something to look forward to. Big adventure that I know nothing about. So
When do you have a final
I just
question?
was wondering,
I've been
Rachel, are you
reading them.
planning on doing everything?
What?
Say that again?
Or Rachel, are you planning on doing
I'm planning,
pre, regular, and post?
Yeah, I am actually.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Go with God. Goddess Shekhinah, across the Red Sea, sing and dance our way out across the Red Sea. And may our lives unfold that we are all healthy and happy and be ready, in physical shape, ready to take another adventure on the road as best we can. And Joseph, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Looking
Thank you, everyone.
And a Ziz Pesach to all.
Thank you, Chag Sameach. Thanks.
Okay. We'll have another intro meeting somewhere down the road, maybe in the summer. So if you do have other people that are interested, you should send them to me. Send them to me, Joseph. If you have my email, that's good. I'll put it in the chat one more time, and we'll take it from there. All right, you all have it. Okay. Love you guys. I gotta go.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.